Hello, I'm Hilary Sloane, and this is Driftwood Conversations. Today's episode is with Buck Buckley, a longtime Joshua Tree resident and a licensed contractor whose work centers on solar, batteries, and home energy systems. But that's just the doorway. Buck is the kind of creator who thinks in systems and patterns. He moves quickly from personal history to big questions about language, culture, energy, health, and what it might take to build a future that actually holds. A quick note before we begin. This conversation was recorded in imperfect conditions, and I did cut sections where noise made the audio hard to live with. What stayed is the depth and the current running underneath it. You may not agree with every idea you hear, and you don't have to. My hope is that you listen with a steady mind, take what resonates, question what doesn't, and notice what the conversation stirs in you. Here's Buck Buckley.
Hi, I'm Buck Buckley. I've been in Joshua Tree for 22 years now.
When did you get here? What year, and what did you do when you got here?
I got here in 2007. It was when the construction industry kind of took a big collapse back then, and everybody was losing their places and homes, and I always came here and thought I would retire here at one point, and I actually I'm going earlier. So I ended up moving here and finding a nice place and making it a home for the last 20 plus years.
We're going to talk about what you do now, but let me digress for a minute, go back. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Orange County. I was actually born in Salt Lake City, Utah. Moved to California when I was 2 when my parents separated, and lived with my stepfather. I grew up O'Leary, not Buckley. So I always thought I was Irish, and I was not. When I hit high school, they made me change to Buckley because I was never adopted. So it was an interesting time. And being in Orange County was an absolute pleasure because there was so much going on there. I mean, you had so much available surfing, and I went to Fountain Valley High School, graduated in 76, traveled Europe. Actually, I left in 75 because I could graduate when I was a junior. So I took off for 6 months and went all over the world. And then returned back home, got married, did the usual things. Eventually, I moved further away from the cities and got closer to the country till I ended up here.
Are you a contractor? What is your title? What do you do?
I'm a licensed general contractor, plumbing contractor, electrical contractor. I do solar, I do battery backup systems, I do anything to do with photonic energy. When you collect energy from the sun, you're really collecting photons. It isn't solar. The solar is the sun. What the energy is we're picking up is called photonic energy, and that's what could power the world if we chose to, but we are stuck in a rut in things that we've invested in, like oil and coal and all these other things, which we really never needed to burn at all. Intelligent people like Tesla knew long ago that there was enough electricity in the ionosphere and laying around that we could just power the world with that, let alone use solar panels to collect photonic energy, which could power the world. When I came to Joshua Tree, we started a group called Transition Joshua Tree.
Did that start here or in England?
It started in England and Ireland. We were the 100th one around the world. It took off really well here. We were big into it. I mean, for 20 years, people were very excited about it and got involved because it was really about not sustainability. We actually changed that word. And that's what I'm doing, is trying to change the wording that we use, like sustainable, we replaced with regenerative. Sustainable is status quo. We keep doing what we're doing. We're dead on this planet. There's no doubt about it. But regenerative means if you cut down one tree, you need to plant at this point about 1,000 to get back to where we might have been 100 years ago, let alone 600 years ago. So we choose words differently, and I'm into writing a book that I hope's out by the end of the year that talks about critical words that we need to revamp, like civil rights. We need equal rights. I mean, we need to raise the bar because civil rights is like the Civil War. It wasn't very civil. It still isn't civil. It still isn't doing what I feel we should be doing. So equal rights, we'll never have that. It's like, the utopian world. But if we raise the bar, we'll get a lot closer faster.
So you're pretty dedicated to making the world better.
For everyone, yes. Fair, concise, easy, and saving the planet is a big thing, and permaculture is a big thing, and it all actually works very well together if you eliminate the very rich who want to just make money, which I don't know what point anybody needs more money than they can ever spend in a lifetime, but it seems to be a sickness. They say the love of money is not a good thing.
So how did this evolve for you? How did you find what makes your heart sing?
Started long ago. I was born severely autistic. You couldn't touch me. I was not, in a good place. My mother kept me in public schools. I got kicked out a lot. The girl wanted to hold my hand, and I karate chopped her because you couldn't touch me, and then I ended up kicked out of school for doing that. But bottom line is, the more interaction I had and the more I had to learn to get along and fit into society, the better I became. And my autistic capability is I oversimplify things down to a core. I could take like a phone book of information and get it down to 2 sentences and tell you what it means. And that's why I kind of know at this point in life, after learning lots of lessons, what is what and how we can fix things. And the biggest one is, I got to admit, in some ways our government is very corrupted. It has been for a long time.
Before we go into that, and that could be a downward,
downside.
Yeah. Let's talk about autism, because that's a subject that hits a lot of people, and we don't really know. There's varying degrees. Everybody has it works differently on everybody. How did you finally work with it? How did your mother help you?
My mother basically told me not to tell people what I thought and what I had in my head because it was very contrary to the world at large. So I was careful not to put out the wrong things. Even though when I get involved in things, I rub people the wrong way because they believe I'm being pompous and like all-knowing. And really, I'm just trying to spread information that I know inside me would help people and be true, but it's taken wrong. And that's the problem with all autistic people, is we're just misunderstood. And Native American tribal people always knew that autistic people and people with these gifts had a specialty, and they were accepted into the tribe readily because they knew they had a power that nobody else had. And it isn't like superpowers with, X-Men and all that stuff. It's really just being wired differently to see the world through.
Do you have a photographic memory?
I do.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yep, I do. I remember things, and I live through movies. I'm visual. I'm not, so much in books. I do read, but not quickly. I don't learn online. That is awful to me. That's like one of the worst things ever. I can't do it because it's so impersonal and I can't ask a question. So I need help when I need help. I can't wait till the end of a course to find out the answer. It makes us crazy. Autistic people get crazy when we can't get the answer we're seeking.
So I understand that I'm ADHD. I'm pretty sure. I didn't go to a doctor for that, but it's pretty clear to me. And so was my father. So you work fast and slow in different things. Some things anchor and some things don't, right?
Well, a lot of times, I have to look something up immediately, which I love the technology of a phone. It's a computer in your hand. If you don't understand something, I can look. Whereas in school, early school, I had to wait. They don't want you to interrupt the class, and you got in trouble if you did that. And then, if you sent the teacher down a spiral pathway, you're kind of depriving everybody else of their education while you're trying to, and you got bored very easily in school. I really, really got bored. I mean, I'd be looking out the window and not paying attention, and then the teacher would say, well, did you hear what I said? And I go, yes, I did. And I could repeat it back, which they were dumbfounded by that because that wasn't a normal thing way back
So
then.
what years are we talking about here?
Early years, even from kindergarten on, I think I became
So
cognitively-
60s, 70s?
Yes.
And
Early 60s, yeah.
And I don't even think autism was
No.
identified back
No,
then.
not at all.
Right.
You were basically classified disruptive or something like that.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You were a problem.
Now you got married. How did that all work?
It works for a while. I have like an 8-year mark. I've been married 4 times.
Oh wow!
I can make it 8 years, and then they seem to go off in a different direction. And it's like you're on a path together, and suddenly they go on this path, and you look down that path, and you're like, I don't really like the look of that path. So, and I separated amicably with each of them. One did pass away, so that was pretty much it. Long-term relationships are hard in marriage for me, but I have a lot of friends from kindergarten on that I still speak to every 2 weeks. We Zoom and talk. So there's a lot of people out there that recognize that kind of a friendship for a long, long, long time.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what finally got you started on a path to make the world better? Permaculture, any of it? I'll have you talk about that specifically.
Sure. My stepfather, O'Leary, was my name through grade school up to high school, and my stepfather had a plan for each of us. There were 3 brothers. One was going to be an attorney, one was going to be a doctor, one was going to be an architect. And none of those worked out. The doctor thing went out the window, and I started working for Firestone Tire and Rubber Company. Actually, I started with Goodyear. I love cars. I love mechanical things. I was very mechanically inclined. I did things differently. I did what they told me, number one. And I also was the first store when I was running the Long Beach Locust store at the traffic circle. Well, I went downtown and then the traffic circle. I got the first computers in the nation in that store because Firestone was the first company to put computers into stores. They had 3,800 stores and they put them across the nation. So I learned computers way before they were even a thing.
Mm.
So a lot of stuff came along real fast, and a lot of my lifetime's just been being in the right place at the right time to learn and pick up information.
Where did that sense of wanting to help the world came from?
It was always there. My mother was very much a naturalist and a homeopath. My grandmother also. I mean, pioneer stock, canning foods, doing things that, people today really don't even know anything about. You run to a store and get food, and all that was done at home in your view shed, and it just passes on to you from your parent.
Yes, it would. Now, I've heard, I don't know if this is true, one of the things a parent can do is feed them natural foods. Does the chemical foods make it worse?
My mother became a homeopathic medicine woman. She lived in Baus, Arizona. It's near Parker on the river. And the Hopi tribe is the tribe there. And she started dating Lemuel, who was a tribal son of the chief. And she quite frankly became an Indian for a number of years that she was with him and dealt with the medicine men and everyone on the reservation. I have photographs. She looked like an Indian. I mean, she was tan and short-haired and really blended in. And so she learned natural medicines, things that, today doctors won't recognize any of this stuff, but it works. I mean, cancer cures and plant medicine and all this stuff. And then she got very involved in more and more of it as her life went on, and everywhere she went, and she helped a lot of people. She did as a caregiver. So She did a lot of good things, and I have all her journals and books, and I learned it. It was practiced on me. I had a kidney disorder when I was 12 or 13. They said I wouldn't live past 18, yet here I am. So my mother pumped protein into me. I spilled protein like crazy, and it was called glomerulonephritis. But in looking back, I grew up and I started to think, okay, what was I doing at this time? Where was I? And I go back to Texas because I lived there. And while I was there, I remember the mosquito abatement truck going around the neighborhood, and it made fog, and all of us kids were running in the fog, and that was DDT.
Oh, wow.
So we were like, oh, we're running in the fog, it's so fun. Well, guess what it does to your kidneys and your internal organs, and probably a lot of those kids did die, and the guys that ran those trucks I know died, that mixed it up and drove it around the neighborhoods, because that was what you did back then.
Right, we had no awareness of it.
Exactly. So, and the other thing that happened to me that I was really curious that I learned later on what it was is my mom said, hey, we moved into a brand new house in a brand new neighborhood with a brand new school, right across the street. And suddenly I was being bused 26 miles downtown Fort Worth, and I didn't know why, but suddenly I'm bused to this very poor school, and it was desegregation. I learned, I thought about it and go, what was that all about? And, oh, well, so we displaced black kids and sent them to white schools, but they also displaced white kids and sent them to black schools. So I went to Washington Middle School when I was in 5th grade, and we got the crap beat out of us for like 2 weeks until a big black kid that weighed 200 pounds in 5th grade named Robert Baldwin stood up on a bench in the hallway and said, any of you people touch these white kids anymore, you're going to deal with me. So we didn't get beat up anymore. He became my best friend through that time.
So what did that do for you? That made you aware of racism?
I didn't really see the color at that time until later on when I started thinking about what was happening. Why did I get bused all the way here?
Right.
But
did you find that a good effort or?
Well, actually, what's interesting is the teachers were better in those schools. They tried harder. They taught more. They taught harder courses. They made you learn. And for me, not everybody, but for me, being the way I was, that was good. I was interested in what they were teaching as opposed to being bored. They had music, which we didn't have in the other places. They had singing and, instruments. They had no physical education equipment. There was no balls or anything.
Oh.
I mean, in the winter, the playground was so bad and puddly that it would freeze over, and we'd line up in 2 teams and slide on the ice and hit each other. And if you were left standing, you got in line again, and whoever had people standing at the end, it's last man standing. We made games because that's what we had to do. There was nothing there, and 3 kids shared 1 book.
Oh, wow.
It was really different than being in an all-white school, having everything, a brand new school especially.
In Africa, we went around to the schools to help build toilets and things. They had like 4 toilets for 1,000 kids. Mm. And they had 4 teachers for 1,000 kids. Right. That's no way to teach children.
No. And like I say, I learned more because I was challenged to learn more. They were feeding information into me. And music, I wasn't ever naturally inclined to music. I couldn't read notes. I didn't get it. There are some parts that you just don't have, but I sure liked trying. It was fun. My voice was changing. Probably the only D I ever got in my life was music at that school.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
But
when did you get turned on to permaculture?
Actually, permaculture came about when I moved to Joshua Tree, like in 2007. It became a thing with transition starting up. Someone brought it here from over there, Ireland and England. We became the 100th startup in the States.
Talk about what it is to describe it.
Transition was
But what is permaculture?
Okay, well, permaculture is 2 words, really. It means permanent culture. So the proposition of it is we as civilized human beings can last between 200 and 400 years. The Romans were almost 400 years. We're only on 200 something, and we're imploding right now. We're doing what happens to every civilization on the planet. because we either use up all the resources we have available and can't live there anymore, or we get crazy and the rich people become running everything and get too greedy. And that's what happened to Rome, and it imploded because of that. That was 400 years. So you pick any civilization that we call modern man, and this happens again and again and again. The Greeks, 185 years. They didn't last a long time. The Portuguese were one of the first seafaring people, only lasted 100 years before they imploded. It was a small California-like country on the edge of Spain, you know. But they were the first real mariners after the Vikings, and they went all over the place. But that's what it means, is permanent culture is something that lasts 1,000 years or 2,000 years, not what we think is a long time. I mean, if you ever go to Europe from here, we're talking centuries, you know, like 8 centuries back. Whereas here we're talking only 2 centuries, and we're going, oh, look how old that mining shack is over there. And then you go there and you're like, you know, in the 15th century, this happened here in this place. And you're like, wow, we're really not old, we're young. And we're really young to be imploding at the rate we're doing right now. So,
what do you think that is? I mean, not just because the culture is...
It's, I think we're very successful as a nation, and the money becomes more important than anything. And then suddenly, people don't think, you know, should we take care of our home? Should we take care of our people? Should we do this? It becomes more about making money and getting ahead and having things, consumption, which transition was saying we need to deal with 3 things: peak oil, local economy was better than huge economy and huge infrastructure, because too big to fail is too big to fail. If we went on to solar, we could be done in 5 years, empower the entire country for 25, 30 years, except we keep doing this burning thing that's messing up the planet, which we, you know, are accelerating at this point when we should be decelerating and going the other way. And the other thing is, you know, we're talking about Rome, warfare, Greek warfare. We have a lot of war, not peace. You know, we don't give enough emphasis to peace, which is cooperation. War is competition. We teach competition, football, basketball. You know, at a young age, you're learning competition. So my book is kind of like, we need to change what we teach at a young age to say, let's start doing cooperation, because the winningest sports teams cooperate. They don't have one guy that's shooting all the baskets, because every once in a while those guys lose. The teams that are the winningest are the ones that cooperate, and they win because they consistently win and help each other.
So how does this idea, how do you bring it down practical? Food, culture, cooking?
They all tie together. That's what's so interesting. As you start getting into it, like I have through the years, you can't live as long as we lived and not see patterns and see things pop out that you go, wow, that's I've seen that before.
How does permaculture relate to food, to growing food?
Well, it's real simple. Is what comes out of the ground is real food. When you process it, you grow it. I'll call it wrongly. We should be soil farmers, not farmers. We don't grow food and fertilize it with chemicals and all that stuff. When you grow food the correct way and you rotate to your crops and you don't till the soil, you don't do a lot of things that we do today. And basically your food has got nutrients and vitamins and everything in it that you need. You don't need multivitamins and other things to supplement it because it's done right. And that's where small and local. Transition was about small and local, getting rid of peak oil, which we were at peak oil in the 80s. They're opening up old wells now, you know, and pumping them dry. The other thing no one understands about, you know, warring and fighting over oil and things like that is if we did solar, transmission lines are in, the sun comes down, you put collectors up and you collect that energy and it gets into the grid. You don't need generation plants or anything else. And now the systems are so good that they can do everything at your home and you don't need anything else. Your vehicle, your EV could become your battery and it runs it all itself. It's a system that will work. They've been doing it in Skylab for 40 years now. Been up there running on solar basically all this time. It has a nuclear power plant. It's really for emergency. It isn't what runs it.
So how do we get this kind of solar into poor neighborhoods?
Well, you can put it in anywhere, and it's very easy to do. It's just changing and getting away from what we vested in, like oil and burning. I mean, the climate change is burning in general. We burned wood, we burned coal. We just moved through to the next hottest thing we can do because we wanted to melt things. We had to do coal, and then we wanted to do more. So now we're into natural gas, but natural gas can't generate as well as other things. So they're still burning wood. They just classified trees as biofuel.
Mm.
It's a way of getting around it, so it's kind of a sellout. We actually go, oh, we're doing good, we're burning biofuels. No, that's trees. They're putting little peaker plants everywhere, and it's a whole thing. And it really doesn't ever, it never ever needed to be, we never needed to burn anything. If we had started down the path that Tesla knew, there was enough electricity in the ionosphere to collect, and everybody could have it for free, but they don't want free, they want you to buy it. And that's why I don't want to do solar, really. I haven't paid an electric bill in 35 years now on any of my properties.
So do you do solar or you don't?
I still do solar. I don't want to sell it to people. I want you to know that it's what you want. If somebody wants me to do it, I'll come out and do it. You know, I've done so many now that people come back. I have a gentleman I just met yesterday that I did 20 years ago, and he hasn't paid a bill either in 20 years.
Does that include getting a battery?
No. He just has straight solar.
Huh.
When I built systems, I did it differently. I would, control the azimuth, adjust, and there was like information you can get from NASA or the state that would tell you if you did an elevation of 18 inches on your roof, because your roofs are all different angles, and you put this many panels on, and your bill is this now. And the other thing that you try to do is downsize your bill after you put on your panels, so you're using less, and then you're actually generating excess that can go into the grid that somebody else can use. So we all could be generators. We don't need to do solar farms and scrape the desert and do all this or put windmills in. Although I like wind, but I like everything distributed at your home. If it's at everybody's home, you only need 25-30% of the homes to do it to cover everybody for 200 years. That's the factors. And the sun has so much energy. I mean, Transition did one thing. We got together as groups, and I was in the water and power group especially, and we did a food group about growing food. In the water and power group, we started looking into how much energy does the sun produce. And we looked everywhere. We couldn't find out. So 2 of us knew people that worked at NASA, so we called up a friend there and said, hey, how much energy? And he looked at me, or he said to us, he says, I don't know. I go, what do you mean you don't know? You're NASA, And he said, let me look into it. He came back, he says, we really don't know, but we're going to do a study, and we want your input and your group's input. We want to move this forward. And it took about 9 months, and they came back and they said, we're going to call it a quad of energy, which is quad is a quadrillion British thermal units. And for those who don't know, a quadrillion is what's after a trillion. Well, how much does the whole world use? This was for a year, what it did in a year. And the number was 326,400 quads of energy a year. That's only what hits us as we rotate. And so the next question, obviously, is how much energy do we use in a year? And it turned out to be like 80 quads. So when I learned that was like, why are we burning all this? Why are we doing all this when this could power tens of thousands of Earths, at the rate that we're doing it? And so then I got really interested in solar. I learned it. I did it. My brother and I put the first one on my home in the Sunfair area in Joshua Tree, and it took us 2 days. We didn't know nothing. I mean, we were just reading the manual and hooking up the wires, plugging it in, and that property was the first one that generated on its own, and we never had a bill.
So I'm thinking about Africa. When I lived there, a lot of people didn't have electric.
Right.
And the solar was makeshift.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you go into a place like that and get it upgraded?
How long ago were you there?
2017.
That's everything. Panels have come so far forward. There's 3 things with panels. There's the wattage they put out. Back then they were 125 and up to maybe 250. That was a good panel. Now they're 580 watts. But what has changed is what they call the degradation factor. So a light bulb burns out after a number of years, right? What happens with solar panels is they made a specification that it had to last 25 years and be at the degradation factor that they told you. Well, back in those days, degradation factors were like 50%. So if it was 150 watts and it was 75, in 25 years they had to replace those panels. The company's told they had to manufacture them to make it 25 years. Everybody thinks that that's how long they'll last. No, they'll last 500 years and still produce, or 1,000 years. The new ones will last more than that. They'll go on indefinitely. So you can take old panels and put them on an outbuilding or something else, and there's still plenty to do that. And you can put newer ones on and new inverters, and you can go forever. They don't just wear out like everybody thinks. They keep generating and generating. I think the first ones are in the Smithsonian, and they are still at 30% of what they were in the 70s when they were made. Still generating. Because they just were not real well refined and made and everything back then because they were new. But now they're getting so efficient, we're at a 92% degradation factor. That means in 25 years, they'll still be at 92% of what they were when you bought them. So, and the inverters have jumped forward and they're more efficient. So we're pulling 30 to 40% power out of panels and inverters, good inverters, as opposed to back when I first started, they were way less. You maybe got 10%.
So if you were to put solar panels, then you still need an electric grid, don't you?
No. You can go totally off-grid. You always could. Actually, off-grid is not regulated. You can do it on your own. It isn't difficult. And all the new Tesla, Franklin, Enphase and systems will work on-grid or off-grid. You just have to decide. The issue is, if you want to be green like I do, is I want to be on-grid because I want my excess to get used by my neighbor who doesn't have solar.
Oh, I see.
I don't want to have them have to pay a generation for a plant and a burner. I call them burners. I don't drive gas engines. I call them burners. I try not to burn anything anymore because that's the problem with climate change. We burn. Smoking cigarettes, I think they said if you quit smoking for a day all around the world, everybody, it's 185 million metric tons of CO2 out of the air. Just smoking pipes and cigarettes and whatever.
That's a great reason to quit.
Yeah.
Besides killing yourself.
Yeah. So all that pollution goes away too. So there's so many things that we could change, and that's kind of what my book is about, is talking about each of these things. And healthcare is, I call them buttons. It's what politicians use. They want you to argue about healthcare. Well, they've had healthcare for 150 years. They haven't fixed it.
Yeah.
We could do it ourselves. And that's what I want to do, is start writing our own legislation, because Constitution says we can. It says we don't have to wait for congressmen to do it, because they're not doing it.
So how are you going to go about that besides writing a book?
Well,
you need to get other people.
I'm not going to do it. I'm old.
Okay.
I want to have a good time and travel and see things, but I know you find an intern that works for a congressman that writes legislation. We write the legislation, like Prop 13 came about from Howard Jarvis, was just an attorney. He wasn't a politician. He wrote Prop 13. This is how we're going to handle it. When you buy your home, your taxes are fixed until your home is sold to another family or entity.
Right.
So it stayed in the family, but it actually just stayed originally in your name until you passed. And then they wrote another law that says you can hand it down to your grandchildren and their children. And the idea was, people are getting kicked off the farm because they can't afford to pay the taxes when the value of the home goes up. So 3 generations are protected now in California. And basically your taxes won't go up until that home is sold to a new person that pays the new super big price. That's done without anybody from Congress doing it, and it passed at like 72%. Super high margin, never heard of before. And it's held the test of time. It's still there. Even the rich guys appreciate it because their places don't go up either.
What would the most important issue be for you right now?
God, there's just so many and they're so intertwined. But I mean, we could take healthcare. It really doesn't care much. It's all about the money. It's insurance companies making most of the money and telling you what you can do. And I guess my book is really about choice and freedom. To me are synonymous. They're the same thing. Money just allows you to make choices that you might not be able to make right now, and go on a trip or go do this or take care of that or buy this or do whatever. But freedom, true freedom, is having the freedom to choose. Women's rights about their bodies is choosing everything. And so you choose what you put into your body and do. So healthcare is quite simple. Being at Firestone, I learned about POS, point of sale. So all we do is we institute, it's not a tax, it's actually prepaid healthcare based on things you do to yourself that you know aren't good. I drink a beer, I drink gin, and all it says is when you buy it, wherever you buy it, you're going to pay a healthcare fee. It's not a tax, it's only on what you do to yourself willingly. And nobody else has to pay for you because you're paying, and then everybody has to pay because it's at point of sale. It doesn't matter if you buy it in a bar, a grocery market, wherever you get it, and other people coming here and visiting, when they buy it, they're paying. So everybody is covered for everything all the time. What happens is you are creating a fund. So if you take like a beer, you pay a quarter. Are you going to quit drinking that beer because you paid a quarter? No. Everything goes up, everything gets taxed, and people still do it no matter what. I'm not going to quit drinking a beer I like or a glass of wine or a gin or whatever because it's that much more. But how many quarters in one day on beer would that be in California? A big bunch of money. So you're super funding healthcare.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a little problem with that because what if, well, there's genetic problems that come up that is not about how you eat.
But you're covered anyway. Everybody's covered for everything. Remember that. The bottom line is everybody is covered for all your choices. Your eyeglasses are now covered, your dental's covered.
Oh, you think this would generate
so
enough
much money? A dime a candy bar? Sugar is bad. You know it's bad. But are you going to quit eating anything sugary?
Yeah.
High fructose corn syrup is damn near in everything that's out there on the shelf. It's got to be a couple cents on that because we know that's not good for us. So maybe you'll start shopping differently when you realize you're paying a little bit of money
well,
towards
I think
all
that's
this.
going on anyway, isn't it?
Not really. They educate you. The cigarette tax is to educate you not to smoke. How well does that work? My thing is, if you want to do it, do it. I'm not going to tell you not to. It's not my place to tell you. So do it, but when you buy it, you need to be responsible for what your choices are that we pretty much know aren't good. That's a really big high-risk category. They don't even want to insure you when you smoke in healthcare companies, insurance companies. They want to say, no, we're not going to insure you, you smoke.
But what about mold, problems with mold or asbestos?
There is a lot of testing going on. Actually, coffee has mold in it. That almost all the coffee in the world goes to Italy, who processes it, types it, and all the moldy coffee and the bad stuff gets sent here and they blend it because we allow more leeway, like rat droppings in your hot dog. You can have so much mold. So they blend it into blends, and then when you go to blend at Starbucks, it's really moldy coffee, but it's blended down so it's not exceeding what we say is okay, but is it good for you? No. I buy Italian coffee and I buy cheeses from Europe because they have higher standards.
Yes.
Okay?
I did notice that even in Africa, when I was in Africa, Tanzania, the food.
Oh, it tastes like food.
Yeah.
It tastes like something, like strawberries. They look pretty. I don't taste strawberry much in them anymore, do you?
No.
Yeah. They're picked early, they're gassed, they've done this, so they look beautiful, but there's no taste. Superfunding works easily. We don't need Congress to do it, and the money doesn't go into Congress's realm.
Yeah, it's going to take really education and a lot more.
We can pay those people because we just superfunded everything. I'm saying you get to choose what you want to do. You don't have to do chemo for cancer. You can do a Native American thing as bloodroot, which I know works, but you offer it to a lot of people that have third stage, second go-around cancer. They won't take it. They'll go back to the chemo why am I forced to do chemo before I can go do a homeopathic remedy?
Mm-hmm.
I should be able to just go boom right there. I had to go do an x-ray, for my sinuses before I can get an MRI. And I'm like, why do you save the money on the x-ray? Because I didn't have an accident. This isn't new. This is old. Nothing's changed. Save your x-ray money. Why do I got it exposed to radiation? Because that's your policy.
I hope these ideas that you're putting out really go into the marketplace and we come up with new things.
It can.
What are you doing now? Are you working for people? Do you have clients?
I do battery systems, backup battery. You don't even need solar anymore to do a backup battery system. You can put a power wall on your house. The grid goes down, it'll run your fridge and important circuitry until the grid comes back up. And if you have an EV, like I have a Cybertruck, that is a giant battery. I can plug my truck into my house and my solar panels will charge my truck battery, and then it's there. If the grid goes down, it can pull off of my truck battery and run those same things. Or you can back up your whole house. You can have whole home backup by adding more of these batteries and systems. And you don't even need solar, but if you have solar, it will choose and draw from each thing.
So you're mostly concentrating on the book.
I'm concentrating on things that government hasn't fixed in 150 years. And they're not planning to because they like us fighting amongst ourselves about it. That's how they stay in power.
But you're concentrating on getting these ideas out through the book,
right,
not through services.
No one wants to talk to you. You can't get into education. I've gone to universities. Even when my daughter went, I tried to get into her school. And that's a school that was about environmental studies, and a lot of these things have to do with that. I've gone in permaculture. I do rainwater harvesting. I do, growing of food and good food. And I call them barrel gardens, where you can grow food in the desert that doesn't grow here. You grow broccoli, you can grow okra, you can grow like 10 different plants that don't grow here by doing these barrel gardens. And if they're doing poorly, you just move the barrel to another point till you find that little happy place for them.
If they're doing what?
If they're not doing well.
Oh, poorly.
You can move them around rather than planting it in the ground and it just doesn't do well and dies there and you can't move it. So these systems are something that we created in transition that we use a lot. And they make it possible to grow a lot of foods here that don't normally grow here.
Is transition still around?
No, it imploded. It got to a point where people were running it that just didn't do the proper maintenance and keep things going. They were more into the minutia of, record keeping or this or that, and people just quit coming when it gets boring, So it's really hard to keep something going, and that was a great thing. And a lot of people moved away, too. That was it. A lot of them have moved out of the area.
What about in England? Have you kept any...
Ireland and England still have them. Sebastopol is up north. It's still operating. They're successful, and they're still going in town. They made sites in town where people could come from all over and see what they're doing and creating.
Oh, that's interesting.
And spreading the ideas.
So it was mostly here you're talking about it imploded.
Right.
This is an amazing place.
Yeah, it is. It's a wonderful place. It's still people wanting to get tied in and find better ways, but it's hard to find people that really want to listen and not talk. I'm one of those. Oops. Anyway, it's hard to spread anything along, although there's a lot of good stuff, like in Arizona, Tucson area. There's a really big community there still that's doing extremely well. I'm starting up...
Transitions community.
Yeah. I'm starting up in Bisbee, Arizona. I'm starting a new one. It won't be transition. I'm actually going to call it the feral human.
Where does that come from? What's that?
Well, most people think feral is like a feral cat, or a feral human was someone that got raised by the wolves or something. I'm talking feral in respect to I don't want to follow the norms of, big agriculture or the government's way of we should do things or the consumeristic way. I want to pull back from those. However, I do support appropriate technologies like EVs. EVs to me are making cleaner air and making air for my children in the future. And, a lot better environment, and they're better vehicles. They don't break down, they don't have problems, they don't overheat, they don't do a lot of things. They're much simpler. And then if you have the whole package, you have a solar and a battery backup and an EV, you have the full package where it's a system that works together and you don't have to pay for electricity ever.
If you were giving somebody advice on living a more healthy, constructive, life, what would you say to them?
Question everything. I mean, that's where I started. It's like someone would say that, and you go, that doesn't seem right, and then you look for another way. I don't pay for electricity. I don't pay for gas. People don't even want to really know. A lot of people don't even want to know about it. Hey, I'll take you for a ride. Actually, I'll let you drive my truck, They don't want to because they don't want to know. They're like, no, I don't want to. It's not, something I want to know about. Well, why? I haven't driven, actually driven more than 10 or 15% of the time in 16 years. I've had a Tesla, the autopilot system. I don't drive now. I'd much rather just say, take me here. And I sit there and it drives. And I have not had a ticket or been in an accident in 16 years. Prior to that, 3 really bad accidents, bad neck, bad back from it. What is it worth never to get in an accident? What is it worth to not get a ticket? And if you're a little intoxicated, the vehicle will probably know because it's looking at your eyes and they will be dilated, and it will tell you to pull over and rest for 30 minutes to an hour. But everyone on the road is safer from me because I don't feel I'm 100% a good driver anymore because I'm 68 years old. I used to race cars, I had good reflexes. All that's slower now. And I can't look 7 different places all at one time, and I don't have infrared vision. My truck does. It can see at night. It can see better than me. It can see all around me. I am safer, and I feel safer when it's driving, and it parks. All the dents and scratches in the vehicle are from me, not from the truck.
Interesting.
So,
but
when you think
most
about
people
it,
can't afford a Tesla.
Everybody says that, but they're cheap.
What's cheap?
You can get a used Model 3 for $10,000 to $15,000.
Model 3, is that a truck?
That's a car. So one of the first autopilot vehicles that came out was Model 3.
Really? So they're autopilot too?
Yeah. Model S's started, 3s came out, they were the first full autonomy. I was in the beta program. I'm still in the beta program. Actually, I got a ticket in Utah and beat the ticket. It was for not moving over and slowing down for a vehicle with flashing lights, which all the states are doing now. If you don't move over and slow down, it's a $1,000 ticket. It's a big ticket. Makes your insurance go up a whole bunch. And they like writing them in Utah. I beat the ticket because I told them I wasn't driving and I could prove it because my truck recorded everything. What is it worth not to have your insurance go up once for that? I mean, they were talking $1,000 more every 6 months on my truck because it's an expensive vehicle, like you're saying. But you don't have to buy my truck. My truck is top of the line, everything. They start at the same price as a Ford F-250 with 1 motor. 2 motors is like $89,000, and then I have 3 motors, which is $120,000, but it came with all this charging equipment and all kinds of accessories and the autopilot and all this stuff. Was all in my package. I got it with the truck, which is why I bought it, because I'm into that, especially the power share for the home, where it will run my home and back my house up.
That really is fascinating.
And you rode in it, and actually you sat there and it drove. What do you think? I could ask you that.
I thought it was amazing. Where I would have trouble is Musk.
Well, I don't like him either. I give him credit for bringing EVs forward. We would not be having them built all over the world by every company. 10 years ago, Ford and GM said they will never build an EV. Guess what?
They're building
They're
them.
building them. Yeah, everybody's building them. Porsche, everybody, you name it, they're all building them because it is the future. The other thing no one understands is you don't have any repairs. You don't have belts and hoses and oil changes. You have no maintenance, zero. You couldn't fix it if you wanted to. I don't know, they took one apart and blue goo and springs and crap flew out all over and nobody could put it back together. It's robots build those, not people. But the motors are potentially 1 million to 1.5 million mile motors if you drive them sanely and don't race them all the time. And the other thing is, my truck is a sports car, a luxury car, a pickup truck, a 4-wheel drive, and a tow vehicle. And it tows as much as any diesel whatever is out there. The only difference is when I go uphill with 18,000 pounds behind me, I can go 75 miles an hour, where that other truck is going 20. Because he's got a big load and he's hammering that engine and it's overheating, and not me.
Is there anything about how you feel about the world, or living through autism, or the times we're in? That
I have great hope. I know deep down inside me, having the mother I had and everything and all the learning I've done and what I see and what I know we can improve this. But the biggest and the foremost thing at this point is we need to take our government back and take control of it and run it. And it needs to be a job, not politics. It doesn't, whoever's in government needs to be a job. You need to take a test to be in government. You can't have hate or anything in you, or you can't be in government. We need to do those things. We need to clear people that go in there, and everyone needs a report card like we got in grade school. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing is we need to vote on our phones and get rid of voting stations and all the advertising and the money and all that stuff coming in. And we pay for the elections. If, this guy's running and this guy's running, and this guy wants this much airtime, we pay for it, but this guy gets the same thing. He gets paid the same amount of time if he wants it. It's equal. And if there's 10 of them, they all get, and we pay for it, and we can control that. There is no super fund PACs and money getting thrown in and Musk stepping in and throwing $300 million into the kitty at the last moment. There is no people standing outside voting booths with guns, threatening people, making them uncomfortable. You can pull a Musk or a Trump, can I say that? I don't know. Or a president and sit on the toilet and vote. Because these are secure. I do my banking here. You can do Wall Street.
The phone
here.
is secure.
The phone is secure. It is you. You only got one phone. You can't have multiples. They would catch you, doing it if you try to. And basically, they send you a ballot. You fill it out. You send it back. They assign it a number. They send it back to you. You say, yes, that's me, and or correct it and send it back. And you're done. And they can count that instantaneously, and they can check these with AI if they really get down to doing that. It would be very simple to recount, do anything you want to do. It'd be very hard to modify and change because every one of these has a number that is you.
Huh.
I ran over my old one with a motorcycle 2 weeks before they would give me a new phone with a new number, until they got the old one shut down in that crunched up phone. They're very secure, and this is just what we should do. There should be no electoral college. There should be no money. There should not be anything. No advertising, no nothing other than what we pay out of our taxes to let them do.
I really hope some of this does filter in. What stage are you at with your book? Are you...
It's all put together. It just needs to be, written in. I don't want it to be super long, and I may put out an outline of each chapter on my website first.
Okay.
I want it to get out there, and then maybe a longer version will come when questions come back about how we institute it. But
how would people find you?
my website is sunlightranchjt.com.
Okay.
And that's where you can find information and stuff, and that'll be getting expanded to carry a lot of these things forward.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Driftwood Conversations with Buck Buckley. In this episode, Buck talks about growing up autistic, about learning through patterns and simplification, and about how we link energy, food, language, and civic life into a connected system. Whether you track with him completely or not, I think there's something powerful in hearing how a person builds a worldview and where they believe change can begin. If you want to find Buck online, his website is sunlightranchjt.com. And I'd love to hear from you. What part of this conversation opened up something for you, challenged you, or made you pause? You can reply in the comments or send me a note. If you're enjoying Driftwood Conversations, please share this episode with someone. And if you're on a platform where ratings help, leaving a quick review makes a real difference. Thanks for being here. I'm Hilary Sloane, and I'll be back with another Driftwood Conversation.